Hey guys, it's Alex, otherwise known as the Sleepy Neko on a honeypot server. To start off, I want to take this moment to say some proper disclaimers in our gratitude. In no shape or form is this information on this video financial advice or constitutes as such. This video is to help new and established traders the proper tools when looking at graphical charts in the stock market. This is so you could understand how to make proper entries and exit points on technical analysis in your own due diligence. I also wanted to express our various gratitude and thanks to those that have joined the Discord server and have supported our Patreon. You guys are the reason we continue to grow and want to put this effort to help you guys understand the stock market through this drastic historical moment known as COVID-19. We know people are struggling, scattering to make a living during these tough times, but we want people to understand that there is financial freedom in the stock market with the sole use of your phone and the computer. Today we will be breaking down VOC Energy, and we will also be using the Webull interface on desktop and mobile. If you're a mobile user, I will be having screenshots on the side for when I indicate a setting change or something else. To begin, when you enter Webull, you will be shown a graph. This is known as a line graph. What a line graph constitutes is single-celled lines that converge, meaning that they connect to form a trend. There are two types of trends in the market. There is a bull and there's a bearish trend. A bull trend is when the price goes up. A bearish trend is when the price goes down. What we see here on the line graph is that it only tells us two things, the volume and the price. It doesn't tell us when people are entering, exiting, so we actually do want to see more information. This is why for this lesson we will not be using the line graph and we want to actually change this. You go right here to line styles and you want to actually change this to the candlesticks. This is known as the Japanese candlestick pattern. On your mobile device, you should see the drop-down menu on your right side of the actual graph, and you should see candle. Click on that, and it would be the exact same thing. When you look at this graph, you see intervals, timely intervals. You can see these dates from December, the year, and everything. You can see it from year, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, and various forms of minutes. So for now, we will be doing VOC Energy within monthly because we want to know its history and we want to know what it's been doing for the past few months. So what do we see in this information with these graphs now that we change it to a candlestick pattern? We see these little bars. These bars are known as the body of the candle, and we see these little lines. These little lines are called the wicks. So what does this information constitute to us? We know at the very bottom right here, this is the opening of the market, and at the very top, this is the closing of the market. When we see that the wicks, those are the minimum price points and the maximum price points it had reached during this day. For example, in this candlestick pattern right here, its most minimum drop was $5 and its most maximum price was $5.89 when it closed. So how do we end up finding or how do we break up a graph? So we want to zoom a little bit more on the monthly because we actually want to see the history. This is how I actually constitute most of my averages, my support lines, my resistance, and I will go more in depth with this right now. So the first thing we want to know is what is a target price for this stock? For VOC Energy, we see that it had reached the highest point of $6.86. So we would actually draw a line right here by using a horizontal line, and we're just going to put right here. I will change this color so it's much more representable to you guys as purple. So we want a target price of $6.86. And now we want to find a supporting line. A support line is where has the stock kept itself at consistently and has not dropped past. When we look at its history, going back to 2016, we see that it's touched this area of 85 cents. And it had almost dropped even lower to almost 14 cents, but it saved itself. But we want to be looking at a basis of our time, what's happening now. So when we line up the very bottoms of these wicks, we see that it's actually touched the supporting area. But what we understand is that wicks are areas of sell-offs and not actually buy-ins where it's in the money. So we do not want to consider these wicks as areas of support. Those are areas of sell. So we actually want to go drawings, put another horizontal line, and I'm gonna put it right here. Right here where the body of the candles actually stay at. I'm gonna change this color so it's much more representable to you guys, and it's gonna be yellow. What do we see here when we look down at its history of VOC Energy? We see that it has a support line at 1.5 and it goes all the way down. Consistently, it's touched, saved itself, touched, saved itself, touched, saved itself. That is the support line. Now we need to figure out what is the resistance that our current area right now is facing during this time. So I'm gonna get another horizontal line, and what we see right here is that it has had trouble of breaking this area of 2.4, maybe even lower, because we see this wick right here. This was a sell-off. So we want to put this line right here. We're going to change this also to a red color. This is where it's been struggling. And now that we see going back into its history, we see that it's been trying to break through. It had broke through at one point, which was a run up, but it struggled. It struggled in this area to sustain, 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 and then it ran up. It had its moment. It had its what I'd like to call these candles when they go like this. These are called gaps. Gaps downward, gaps upward. So now we know that this is an area of resistance that it needs to break. Now, if we start going more zooming in to our weekly, we want to start seeing if this is actually uptrending or downtrending. We see that right now it beat its supporting line of 1.5, and now it's going to start looking like it's downtrending. This right here in this area, it had its fall off, which was a downtrend, downtrend. People who sold off, I hope you got your money and your input. Right here, what I want to express between these two lines, this is what I call the consolidation area. Consolidation area is where the price fights between the average in our resistance lines that we have marked ourselves. So we want to make sure that when we buy in, we're not buying in when it's losing its supporting line and it drops lower. Like I said, when we saw the history, it had actually dropped all the way to 85 cents. And people even tried forcing it to 51 cents. So we do not want to end up having that for us, especially when we're playing with a lot of money. Like I said, it's not financial advice. It shouldn't be constituted as such. This is for you to actually understand how to read a graph. What we see right here is that people are buying in, trying to pump it up with more volume, and people are selling. But what we see right here, like this section of the graph, underneath it is the volume area. Where we start seeing is that the volume is actually downtrending. You could actually draw a line right here, and I will draw it for you guys as a trend line. We want to see the volume first before anything because it's actually telling us information before we actually see the price and before we enter. Now, when we actually want to do a trend line on the graph, I like to do it based on these various reasons where I think that wicks shouldn't be considered as part of your trend line as those are sell-offs and out of the money. You want to actually put trend lines with the body of your wick and you want to actually line it up with the bodies of the rest of the other candles. So what you see here, I'm putting my trend line right here at the very bottom of this candle, the body, and this is actually peaking and touching the various other bodies and not the wicks. And I like to do it on green candles only. This is so I could actually see a clear direction of where the graph is doing. We could also start breaking down a little bit more of maybe where there's actual resistance lines that people will try and the bearish people that try and make the price of the stock go down, try and do. So right here, this could be an area where we had to be careful with. And I would be drawing this one as right here as white. So we see right here it's actually making a triangle, but we have to be fearful that this volume candle right here, see right here, people are indecisive of even breaking through this section of area. See right here, and we have support. We have actual evidence that these people are super indecisive of making sure it breaks through here, then it breaks through the next one and makes a run. Why? We see people are selling off right here. The market always closes at this price point, and people started dropping it lower, because they didn't have faith. But now that they dropped it lower, they started accumulating volume. We see this volume bar right here. We see this volume bar right here. We see this volume bar right here. People are picking it up. People ran it up, and now they're bringing it back down to an average point that they had initially wanted the price to go. So now that we understand that this candle is showing us indecisiveness because there's no volume, the volume itself is already speaking right here. But the fact that it's not going at a filler rate of a body means that there people are indecisive. And we need to understand that in this market during COVID, you cannot be trusting patterns like head and shoulders, cup and handles. You just need to do it based on volume, inflow and outflow, and knowing your support and resistance lines and always updating them constantly as the price moves. And I'm hoping that you guys understand that it's not that hard to break down the graph. So when I do my trend lines on a downtrend, we start from a wick. So we know that this it went on an uptrend right here. We want to put our little trend line from there to the lowest minimum price point that it did. If you guys followed through, you know that the bottom of the wick is the minimum low price that it had made, and right here was the maximum price point it had done. So we see right here that it's downtrending, and we know that it's always going to be downtrending all the way through. So, like I said, wicks, as a reminder of the sell-offs, the bodies are in the money. And this is how people actually secure more profits when they're playing with bigger money. And this is why I'm hoping you guys analyze this properly and start seeing that when you start breaking down a graph, you do it from a like a weekly perspective. You could do it from a monthly, for your support and resistance lines. Like we can start building up from here, even more trend lines. We can see that it struggles to break through this area. So I like to put my trend line right here on, like I said, on the body. And I'm drawing the wrong line. We want horizontal lines. So right here, we see that people are indecisive in this area. We see right here that people are indecisive in this area. We see right here people are indecisive in this area. Why? We see plenty of sell-off wicks right here. We always got to make sure that we understand what we're seeing and what we're doing. So now, let's say we're trying to get an entry point. Well, we're going to go even lower. We know it's already on an uptrend, but this could be a fake uptrend. So how do we understand that? We go more into the daily, and we start seeing that my trend line is following through. And right here, it peaked out at that supposed resistance line, the white line, which is $2 and almost 4 cents. And we see that there's indecisiveness in people selling off. This little volume right here is showing us that people don't even want this to keep falling. People actually want this to pick up. This is why this green candle shows us that there's support right here. Right here, it's trying to save itself. So we could say that right here, a new support line is building up. And we can see right here, it passed the breaking point right here. You could almost say that this was the cup and this was the handle. So now we just gotta wait on a much more hourly time frame, or look at it from an hourly time frame, to see if it's still uptrending differently from our normal trend line that we did on the month. We see that it went up. We see that it went had a sell off. We see people trying to push it, and it pushed to a specific price. It opened. Remember when the full candle is when it opened and closed at the top, and people kept pushing it up, open and close at the top. Now people started selling off. Now we see that it had this downtrend, and right here, this became lateral. Right here, it's almost in the same price point. Like these little wicks are not going lower than before. So we could say right here could be a starting point for the uptrend. And I will move this because, like I said, I like having my trend lines on the body, and it passes through the other two. So we're confirming that currently within the next within the 4 hour mark, it's still uptrending. Very confirmed that within the weekly it's uptrending. We confirmed that on the daily it's uptrending, and now in the 4 hour it's uptrending. Now we got to look at this volume. This is where I say volume accumulation, it means everything. We saw that before there was that sell-off where it was going downtrending right here, and now we see that it's starting to pick up and go lateral. More volume each time, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. So we might actually see a turning point in this section right here. If someone pumps it up and breaks through, it could keep on going until it actually goes into the two. And I'm hoping you guys start noticing these patterns and how I'm breaking down these graphs. Sometimes when you already break down a graph within the 4 in a weekly mark, you don't have to do the rest. It's the lines tell you everything. So I'm hoping you guys understand a little bit of what I'm talking about. If you guys have more questions, leave them in the comment sections below. Join the Discord if you're barely seeing this on YouTube, and really come and join and see how we actually explain things. Come and join and talk to the rest of the people. See our testimonies. We actually want to help people understand the stock market. So thank you for your time, guys, and bless.